Hello, and welcome back to Babel on Talmud. Hi, I'm Shirley Raps, and we'll be studying together today Daf Pei Zayin of Masechta Shabbis. Before we begin, let's just talk about what we're going to talk about. Cool. So the Gemara starts out with, of course, we are talking about the context of Har Sinai and the days leading up to Har Sinai and the preparations for Har Sinai. So there are three things in Moshe's sort of tenure that he improvised on his own, that he just kind of made his own decisions, and the Eibishter agreed with his sense. Is that with his what's the word? Like when you like sense something with oh gosh, I don't know. Somebody want to help me out here? I can't remember. Okay. Next. Shabbos it's going to drive me nuts. What's that word? When you just kind of like have a sense of something. He agreed with his, darn it. What's that word? He agreed with his, now I can't even think straight anymore. Let alone learn a daf of Gemara. No, I'm just kidding. I can. Okay, Shabbos at Mara. We're going to talk a little bit about, pretty briefly, about that first Shabbos at Mara when they got the command for at Mara, and then at the end, sort of, we go back to this makhloket between R Yossi and the Rabanan about what day the Yidden got to Midbar Sinai. Right? Remember yesterday we had that makhloket. Was it on a Sunday? Whether it wasn't on a Monday? Well, if all else fails, well, let's just introduce some mathematical models. So we're going to try to figure it out with numbers. Enjoy. No, it's fine. It's cool. And then we talk about also at the end the day that the Mishkan was put up, which was Rosh Chodesh Nisan of the second year since they left Egypt, and there were 10 crowns on that day. We will get there as well. Okay. I feel like that word I'm thinking of starts with like an I-N. Like is instinct. I think that's the word, right? Or that God acquiesced with his instinct. I think. Let's just say that so we can move on. Okay, so we are on Daf Pei Zayin, about Pei Zayin Amud Aleph, 2, 4, 6 lines into the page, Meisvei. So the Gemara begins with a kasha against R Yossi. According to R Yossi, there were 3 days of separation, of Prisha, right? There were 3 days of Prisha, so that was on Wednesday, was the edict, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was Prisha, Matan Torah was on Shabbos. So now, we have a kasha, however. V'kidashtem hayom u'machar. No. The Eibishter says, V'kidashtem hayom u'machar, that you will make yourself holy. Now, very often, right, Kedusha is associated with Prisha, with like restrictiveness and staying away. So v'kidashtem hayom u'machar, kilu, today and tomorrow men and women shall stay away from each other. No, that sounds like a 2-day quarantine, not 3-day. I don't know if quarantine is the right word, but a 2-day separation versus a 3-day separation. Rabbi Yossi says 3 days, but the pasuk seems to be saying just today and tomorrow, which is 2 days. So kasha Rabbi Yossi, Amalach Rabbi Yossi will respond to you. Yom echad hosef Moshe midaito. So Rabbi Yossi says that Moshe actually added that 3rd day on his own. The Eibishter only told him hayom u'machar, only told him today and tomorrow, 2 days. Moshe Rabbeinu made his own drasha and said, you know what? It should be 3 days. The Tanya, as we learn in the Brisa, Gimel Dvarim Asa Moshe Midaito V'Iskim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Imo. That Moshe Rabbeinu, there are 3 times when Moshe Rabbeinu went with his own instinct. There are 3 times when Moshe added something on his own, and the Eibishter, said, yes, I agree with you. Good job for doing it. Hosef Yom Echad Midaito. So the first thing that I did was he added 1 day of Prisha Midaito. Uferish Mina Isha, and also he separated from his wife Tzipora. Vishiber Saluchos, and of course he broke the tablets. And in all 3 of those cases, God acquiesced. Hosef Yom Echad Midaito. No. So what's this thing about Moshe Rabbeinu adding a day of Prisha on his own? So my Darish, how come he added an extra day? What was his thinking? What was his rationale? Well, Hayom Umachar. Well, the Eibishter told him that Prisha should be today and tomorrow. So Hayom Kimachar. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, well, let's assume that today is like tomorrow. Malamachar Leilo Imo. Afayom Leilo Imo. Well, just like Limachar is going to be a full day, it's going to be the night is going to be the day. Well, then I should assume the same about Hayom, about today, right? Afayom Leilo Imo. So also today should include the night beforehand. V'leilo da'idna nafkale. Yet it's too late because remember the command for Prisha happened b'hashkama on Wednesday. It happened early in the morning on Wednesday, which means that it was already after Tuesday night. So he says, well, we missed our opportunity, right? So if we're saying Machar is going to be the night with the day, well then Hayom, today, should also be the night with the day. Now, obviously we've already missed our opportunity for the night because it was already Wednesday morning. Well, Shma mina treyome levar mea idna. It must therefore mean 2 complete days, day and night, in addition to today where we already missed the opportunity for the night. So that is how Moshe Rabbeinu calculated that it must be sure today, which is going to be Wednesday day, even though he missed the opportunity for Tuesday night. But then it's going to be Wednesday night and Thursday night and Friday. That entire time will be Prisha, leading up, culminating with Matan Torah on Shabbos. And how do we know that the Eibishter agreed with Moshe's instinct? Well, because when was the Torah given? On Shabbos morning. So obviously, Hashem agreed with Moshe's logic, because if he didn't, then he would have given the Torah on Friday. Because if it was only supposed to be 2 days, and that would have been Wednesday and Thursday, well then we should have gotten the Torah on Friday. From the fact that Hashem didn't give the Torah on Friday, he gave the Torah on Shabbos, obviously means that he was okay with Moshe Rabbeinu making it a 3-day separation as opposed to a 2-day separation. How come Moshe Rabbeinu decided that it would be a good idea to separate from his wife Tzipora? So, well, he made a kal v'chomer. What was the kal v'chomer? Omar, he said, well, Uma Yisrael shelo dibra shchina imoyen elisha achas v'kava loyen zman. When it came to the Bnei Yisrael, that the Eber only spoke with them for 1 hour, right? And he made a specific time. Kilu, there was a lot of preparation for Maimad Har Sinai. There was, right? Hashem said, look, it's going to be on such and such day, at such and such time. Be prepared. The Torah says, V'yunchonim v'gomer al tigshu. Right? It says, prepare yourself for this appointed time. I don't want men and women to be sleeping with each other 3 days in advance. There was a lot of preparation that led up to God speaking to the Bnei Israel. Ani, shekol sha'a v'sha'a shchina medaberes imi ve'eno koveh lizman. But me, the Eibishter speaks to me all of the time, and he doesn't make up specific times. He just talks to me. Well, al achas kama v'chama, well then certainly I won't be able to be sleeping with my wife, because then I'll be a Balkari, and I can't risk the chance of being a Balkari when God wants to speak with me, and therefore, look, I have to separate from my wife. How do we know that God actually agreed with Moshe? The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, after Maimad Har Sinai, so the Eibishter said to Moshe, he said, okay, you could tell the people that they can go back to their tents, meaning they can go back to their wives, they can go back to their house, and men and women would be permitted to one another once again. But what does it say immediately in the following pasuk? Ve'ata payamod imadi. However, you stay and stand here with me. Meaning that while everybody else was permitted to return, men and women were permitted to return to their regular relationships, you, however, Moshe, stay with me. Do not go back to Tzipora. Those who say pel pe adaber bo, those who say, I speak to him mouth to mouth, meaning This pasuk is in the context of the lashon hara of Miriam. When Miriam said to Aharon, she said, she said lashon hara about this exact thing, right? Did you hear that Moshe separated from Tzipporah? That was the lashon hara that they spoke. And when God sort of confronted Miriam and Aharon about this, so he said, look, right, what does it say? Lochen avdi, right, what is it? Lochen avdi b'Moshe, right, be'avdi Moshe. Do we even have the pasuk here? It says, no, it doesn't. But Kilu, Moshe Rabbeinu is different. I can speak to him at any time. I speak to him mouth to mouth, right? I have a very different relationship with Moshe than with anybody else. And therefore, I agree with the fact that he did. I agree with his separation from Tzipporah. It's because I can talk to him anytime and, he has to be tahor. Let's move on. Shiber saluchis, my darish. How come Moshe Rabbeinu decided it would be a good idea to shatter the tablets? Well, Amar, he said, Uma Pesach shu echad mitayag mitzvahs, Amr Torah v'chol b'necha lo yochabo. Well, the Korban Pesach, which is just one of the mitzvahs, right? They had already received the mitzvah of Korban Pesach before that, right before they left. Well, I guess they got the commandment on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, but they did it, I guess, on the 14th of Nisan, as we're going to learn about on Amud Beis. Anyways, but they already had the mitzvah of Korban Pesach, and one of the halachis of the Korban Pesach is v'chol ben nechar lo yochabo. Any ben nechar should not eat it, and we learn ben nechar to mean shenisnachru ma'asav la'avu shebashamayim. That his activities, that his actions were sort of foreign to God, i.e., he wasn't following the mitzvahs, right? He was whatever. He wasn't following God, right? And because of that, he's unable to do this one mitzvah of Korban Pesach. HaTorah kulakan. I have all of the Torah here in my hands. And as Rashi says, tluya beluchos, right? That meaning all of the Torah is dependent on these 10 commandments in the luchos. And we also learned the Gemara in Brachas, which says that all of Torah was given at Har Sinai. What was it, like on Zion and Aleph or something? And I think wasn't there somebody who, maybe the Balachos Gedolos, somebody showed how you could theoretically connect all the mitzvahs to the Seres Adibris, whatever it might be. But the point is that the luchos represent all of the Torah. So I have all of the Torah in my hands. V'yisrael mushumadim, and the Yidden are acting like they created an idol. Alachas kama v'chama. Well, then certainly the Torah, they are not privy to receive the Torah, right? If they were unable to do this one mitzvah, if they were distant from God, well, then certainly the entire Torah that are in my hands, they have no use or no sense or whatever right to it, and therefore he just broke the tablets. We know this from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How do we know that God agreed with his decision? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Asher Shibarta, as well as it says, but when God creates the second luchos, so he says, and I'll create. Luchos is the right? I'll write on the luchos what was on the first ones, Asher Shibarta, and we learn out from Asher, it's like Yashar Koach, right? Asher, it's like Shkoich. Rishlakish Yashar Kochacha Shibarta. Right? Asher is like Yashar Koach Shibarta. Good job for breaking them. I agree with your decision. The Yidden were in no place to be receiving the luchos at that point when they had that golden calf darting. Tashma, come in here. Ve'nuchonim layom ashlishi. Be prepared for the third day. So Kasha Rabbi Yossi. That sounds like a question of Rabbi Yossi, right? Ve'nuchonim layom ashlishi sounds like, separate for 2 days, because on day 3 is when you're getting the Torah. Now, according to Rabbi Yossi, it's really separate for 3 days, because on Yom 4 you're getting the Torah, right? Separate on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because on day 4, on Shabbos, you're getting the Torah. But it sounds like, right, Ve'nuchonim layom ashlishi sounds like the Rabbanan, Kilu, Thursday and Friday, and then on day 3 on Shabbos you'll get the Torah. So Kasha the Rabbi Yossi, so it's a Kasha on Rabbi Yossi, who says that the Prisha was 3 days and the Torah was given on the 4th day. So the Gemara says, don't hock me a chinik. We already talked about this. Yes, God said, be prepared for the 3rd day. Moshe Rabbeinu added a day, mida'ato, which is why it was really the 4th day. And we said God agreed with him because he gave the Torah on Shabbos, even though the Prisha started on Wednesday. Tashma, come in here. Shlishi, okay, so we have some brayos that says Shlishi, okay, the 3rd day. What about the 3rd day? Shlishi b'chodesh u'shlishi b'Shabbos. It was the 3rd day of the month, and it was also the 3rd day of the week. Okay, meaning Rosh Chodesh was Sunday, and then day 3 was not only day 3 of the month, but it was also Tuesday, i.e. Tuesday was day 3 of Sivan, which means that day 1 must have been Sunday, Kasha the Rabanan, which is a Kasha on the rabbis who say that Rosh Chodesh was on a Monday. Amrilach Rabanan, Amani, Rav Yossi. Rabanan say, that brayso is Rav Yossi. We don't agree with Rav Yossi. We don't have to agree with Rav Yossi. Okay? Shlishi Lamai. When we just said 3rd day, right? 3rd day, and it was the 3rd day of the month, and the 3rd day of the week, it was Tuesday. What about this 3rd day? So, it's a brayso. Tanya. Vayashev Moshe as divrei ha'am el Hashem. Okay, so we have one pasuk, right? Shmos, pasuk Yud Tes, pasuk Ches, which says, Vayashev Moshe as divrei ha'am el Hashem, that Moshe returned what the nation said to God. Uchsev, and immediately following, the very next pasuk in the Torah says, Vayaged Moshe as divrei ha'am el Hashem, that Moshe said the words of, told the words of the nation to God. Keilu, and nothing happened in between them. Keilu, one pasuk says that Moshe returned what the nation said to God. The very next pasuk says, and Moshe told what the nation said to God. What happened in between these two psukim? Because if you look in the Torah, not very much does happen, right? All that it says in that pasuk is Vayomer Hashem Moshe Hine Anochi Bailecha Ba'Anan Ba'Abu Yishma B'Dabri Imach V'Gam B'Chay Yaminu L'Olam Vayaged Moshe Divrei Ha'am el Hashem. Right? Meaning, first it says Moshe returned what the nation said. He told it to God. Then God says, I'm going to come to you in a cloud, whatever. And then it says that Moshe spoke what the Bnei Yisrael said. He told to God. Keilu, like what happened in the meantime that he's telling to God? So. Amrla HaKadosh Baruch Hu the Moshe. No, I'm sorry. So Moshe as Divrei Ha'am el Hashem. So the Gemara asks, Ma Amrla HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe. So in the meantime, what did God say to Moshe? Uma Amr le Moshe Yisrael. And to which what was the message from God that Moshe relayed to Israel? Uma Amr Yisrael le Moshe. And what did the Bnei Yisrael respond to Moshe? Uma Yeshiv Moshe lifnei Agvura. And then what did Moshe then go and return to tell Hashem? So Zo mitzvahs hagbala divrei Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. So Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda says that what happened in between these two psukim is the mitzvah of hagbala, of setting a perimeter around the mountain. That Moshe, that in between these two psukim, God had told Moshe about the mitzvah to set a perimeter around the mountain. Moshe went down, told the Bnei Yisrael to set a perimeter, and then reported back what they said to God. Fine, that's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. Now Rebbe Omer says Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Batchila Peresh Onsha. So first, when it says Vayashev Moshe as Divrei Ha'am el Hashem, so that is talking about that first Moshe went down to the Bnei Israel, explained to them about the punishments that are part of the Torah, and the Bnei Israel responded. They said, sure, no problem, na'aseh, we will do it. And then Moshe came and returned their response to God. Right? It says, Vayashev Moshe Divrei, Vayashev Moshe returned, Vayashev, Dvarim shemishabevin daito shel adam. Right? Things that sort of prevent a person's, not da'as. That would, generally speaking, a person would respond, oh gosh, I don't want to take part in this, i.e. punishments, but nonetheless, the Bnei Yisrael accepted it and they said, that's fine, na'aseh, we will do it. Na'aseh v'nishma, of course, came later at the end of Parshas Mishpatim. So, okay, fine. And then Moshe Rabbeinu went back down and he explained how much reward is inherent in following the Torah. Moshe that the second pasuk says Vayaged Moshe, that Moshe spoke what, or told God what the Bnei Yisrael responded, and that is in regard to Dvarim Shemoshchin Libo Shel Adam Ka'agada. Vayaged is like Agada, is like we've experienced, I think this is how I understand it, like we've experienced in learning Gemara together, right? Agada, right? Agadatas, that sometimes we have sort of these interesting pages where we talk about more abstract things, and it's kind of interesting. There's always some cool tidbits over there and interesting things. So that was the second time around. Moshe told them how much the Bnei Yisrael, how much reward is inherent in following the Torah, to which he then relayed their response to God. V'ikadam, to those who explain Rebbe as saying Batchila Perishma and Schara, that first Moshe Rabbeinu told the Bnei Yisrael about the reward inherent in following the Torah. Dichsiv, as the pasuk says, Vayashev Moshe Dvarim Shemeshiven Daito Shel Adam, that Moshe returned Vayashev what the Bnei Yisrael said to him, he told to God, and Vayashev is things that Meshiven Daito Shel Adam, that sort of bring a person's head to ease, his knowledge to ease, and that is things related to reward, right? That makes people excited, people happy, feel good. With Vasof, and in the end, Perish Onsha, Moshe Rabbeinu explained the punishments in her that are also connected, related to the Torah. Yaged Moshe, Dvarim Shekashin Adam Kigidin, things that are as difficult to a person like Gidin, like sinews. I'm sorry. Kigidin was like these bitter vegetables, right? Things that are bitter, like these bitter vegetables. So when we say, what is this shlishi, the assumption is like Rabbi Yossi's opinion. Like, okay, no, I didn't mean Rabbi Yossi, like Rebbe's opinion. That basically, if I understand correctly, the way that this works would be, day one, Moshe told the Bnei Yisrael about the, let's just take the second way to understand Rebbe, about the schar inherent in the Torah. Day two, he relayed that to Hashem. Day three, he told the Bnei Yisrael about the punishments inherent in the Torah. And day four, he relayed their response to that to Hashem. So we see that there was basically a whole 4-day dialogue happening between Moshe and Bnei Yisrael. So when it says Shlishi, the third day, it's talking about the third day of those 4 days of Moshe speaking to the Bnei Yisrael, and Bnei Yisrael relaying their responses to Moshe. And then Moshe, of course, relaying those responses to God. Moving on. Tashma, come in here, Shishi. Okay, so we just talked about Shlishi. Now let's talk about Shishi. Fine. Day 6. Shishi b'chodesh, Shishi b'Shabbos. Okay, it was the 6th day of Sivan, and guess what? It was a Friday. It was the 6th day of the week. No. Kasha l'Rabanan. This is also a question on the Rabbanan, because according to the Rabbanan, the 6th day of Sivan would be Shabbos, not Friday. So, Hanami Rabbi Yossi. No. So the Rabbanan is going to answer in the same exact way. This Brisa is Rabbi Yossi. We argue with Rabbi Yossi. What do you want me to tell you? Shishi l'mai. So now when we say day 6 from what? Okay. So Rava Amar l'chanayasan, Rav Acha bar Yankiv Amar l'masa'an. So Rava says that it's day 6 from when they encamped. Exactly. Day 6 from when they encamped at Midbar Sinai. Okay? So they encamped Midbar Sinai, and then this day 6, which was Friday, was meaning, so they, according to Rabbi Yossi, which is the author of this brisa, so on day 1, which was on Sunday, which was Rosh Chodesh, they arrived at Midbar Sinai, and they encamped over there. And then day 6, which was Friday, is 6 days from then, and that's what we're talking about. Rav Acha bar Yaakov Amar l'masa'an. According to Rav Acha bar Yaakov, it is from the day that they left Refidim. Okay, now, according to Rav Acha bar Yaakov, they left Refidim and also arrived at Midbar Sinai on that same day, on Sunday. Okay? And therefore, and that's what Rav Acha bar Yaakov is saying it. So basically, they left Refidim on Sunday, and then 6 days later was the 6th of the month of Iyar, and, Friday, Seder. What's the nafkamina between Rava and Rav Acha bar Yankiv? The kamiflagei b'Shabbos demara. What they're arguing about is what about Shabbos? To what degree were they taught about Hilchos Shabbos at Mara? What was Mara? Mara was after, it's at the end of Parshas B'Shalach. After they crossed the Yam Suf, so they needed water. They got to Midbar Sin. No, that was something else, I think. No, they got to Mara. And they got there and they needed water. And there was a whole story. They complained, hey, we need water. Then Moshe the water was very bitter, so Moshe put a stick in there and then it became sweet. Anyways, so it says that over there they received word about Shabbos. Okay? And as we see, Dichsiv, as the pasuk says, Kasher tzivcha Hashem Elokecha. In the Aseres Adibros in Parshas Ve'eschanan, in Sefer Dvarim, it says, Shamar es Yom HaShabbos l'kadsho, guard Yom HaShabbos, the day of Shabbos, to make it holy. Kasher tzivcha Hashem Elokecha, as God commanded you. Wait, we already know about this? We're not just finding out about Shabbos now at Har Sinai? Apparently not. Apparently they already knew about Shabbos from Mara. They knew about Shabbos at Mara. And the makhloket between Rava and Rav Acha bar Yaakov is about to what extent did they learn about Hilchos Shabbos at Mara. Okay, as you were commanded about Shabbos at Mara. Mar savar Shabbos ifkud atchumen lo ifkud. According to Rava, at Mara, sure, they learned about Shabbos, but they didn't learn about Tchum Shabbos. They didn't learn, they were not taught that on Shabbos, you do not walk more than 2,000 amas from where you are for Shabbos. And therefore, according to Rava, they actually left Refidim on Shabbos. Because there was no reason not to. There was no Tchum Shabbos, there was no problem of walking more than 2,000 amos from where they were. So according to Rava, they left Refidim on Shabbos. Umar Sarva Tchum Enami Ifkud, whereas Rav Acha bar Yaakov holds that at Mara, they also found out about the halachos of Tchum Shabbos, and therefore they would not have traveled on Shabbos, they could only travel on Sunday, and therefore they both left Refidim and arrived at Midbar Sinai on that Sunday, and therefore 6 days from then would be Friday, which was also the 6th month of Sivan, because of course they arrived, because it was Rosh Chodesh on the day that they arrived at Midbar Sinai. Let's move on. Tashma, come in here. Nisan. Okay, so 1 second. So what we're going to be doing right now is we are going to try and figure out, by figuring out if we can know what day of the month certain events happened, we can then try to figure out when Rosh Chodesh Sivan was to figure out if it was a Sunday or a Monday. So we're going to be trying to do this, right? Sunday like R Yossi or Monday like the Rabanan. This is basically going to be the rest of the page. It's kind of interesting. It's not that bad. It's a little technical, but it's cool. Let's do it. Tashma, come in here. Nisan sheboyatsu Yisrael mimitzrayim. Okay, so in the month of Nisan that the Jews left Egypt, ba'arba asar shachtu peschayim. So on the 14th day of the month, they slaughtered the korban Pesach. V'chamisha asar yatsu. And on the 15th day of Nisan, they left Egypt. V'la'erev laku b'chayris. And that night was makat b'chorot. La'erev sakadaitech. 1 second. That night was makas b'choros. The night after they left was when all the firstborns were killed. I thought it was dafka the night before they left that all the firstborns were killed. So ella ema miba erev laku b'choros. No, from the night. Kilu, from the night before, that was when makas b'choros happened. And then on the 15th, they left Egypt. V'osa hayom chamishi b'Shabbos haya. Zeu. And that day, the day that they left Egypt, the 15th of Nisan, was a Thursday. Friends, here we go. Midchamisar b'Nisan chamisha b'Shabbos. Well, if the 15th day of Nisan was a Thursday, and we know that Nisan is always a full month, there's always 30 days in Nisan, and we also know that there are 7 days in a week, so that means that if the 15th was a Thursday, okay, that also means that the 29th was a Thursday, right? 2 weeks later was also a Thursday, the 29th. that also means that the 30th was a Friday, which means that the first day of Iyar was a Shabbos. You with me? Now, so the first day of Iyar is Shabbos. Now, there are 29 days in Iyar. Iyar is always a 29-day month. So, if day 1 is a Shabbos, 4 weeks later, right, 28 plus 1 is 29. So 29, the last day of Iyar, was also a Shabbos. Which means, friends, that Rosh Chodesh Sivan, which then it was the next day, was a Sunday. Just like Rabbi Yossi. Kasha and the Rabanan. That's what the Gemara wants to ask. Okay? So, Chamesar b'Nisan Chamisha b'Shabbos. So, from the fact that the 15th day of Nisan was a Thursday, well, that means Reish Yarcha de'Iyar Shabbata. Well, that means that Rosh Chodesh Iyar would be on Shabbos. V'Reish Yarcha de'Sivan Chad b'Shabbos. And Rosh Chodesh Sivan would therefore be on Sunday. So, Kasha the Rabbanan, it is a question on the Rabbanan who say that Rosh Chodesh Sivan was a Monday. Amri lach Rabbanan. The rabbi will respond and will say, you know what? While it's true that generally speaking, Nisan is 30 days and Iyar is 29 days, Iyar dahi shata avure avura. That year, however, Iyar was not 29 days. Iyar that year was 30 days. And for that reason, while the 29th day of Iyar would be Shabbos, Sunday was not the first of Sivan, it was the 30th day of Iyar. It had an extra day that year. And therefore, Rosh Chodesh was Monday. Tashma delo avruah Nisan shebo yatzu Yisrael. I'm sorry. Tashma delo avruah. But then the Gemara says, 1 second. I'll prove to you, Rabbanan, that year they did not make Iyar 30 days. Because we have a brayso that says, Nisan shebo yatzu Yisrael miMitzrayim, that the month of Nisan, when the Yidden left Egypt, Parba Asar Shachtu Peschaim, on the 14th of the month, they slaughtered their Korban Pesach. B'chamisha Asar Yatzu, on the 15th of the month, they left Egypt. V'la Erev Laku Bechoros, at night was Makas Bechoros. La Erev Sakadaitech, really? The night following the 15th was Makas Bechoros. Ella Ema Mi Ba'erev Laku Bechoros. No, rather from the evening was Makas Bechoros, i.e., the night before the 15th of the month when they left. Fine. Now, v'oso ayom chamisha b'Shabbos haya. The 15th of Nisan, when the Yidden left Egypt, was a Thursday. Hishlim Nisan v'ira iyar lios b'Shabbos, right? So remember, if the 15th of Nisan was on Thursday, that also means that the 29th of Nisan was on a Thursday, which means the 30th was a Friday, and the 1st of Iyar was a Shabbos. Chaser Iyar. Now, Iyar is a Chodesh Chaser. It's a 29-day month, which means that the last day of Iyar, the 29th day of Iyar, was also a Shabbos. Ve'ira Sivan lios be'echad b'Shabbos, which means that the first day of Sivan was on Sunday. So we see pretty clearly in this brayso that Iyar was Chaser, right, and that Rosh Chodesh Sivan was on Sunday. So Kasha the Rabbanan, Hamani Rabbi Yossi. News is the Kasha and the Rabbanan, who say that Rosh Chodesh was Monday. So they will respond, don't knock a chinik. That brayso is a Rabbi Yossi brayso. We don't agree with that brayso. We hold that Rosh Chodesh was on Monday because Iyar that year was 30 days, not 29 days. Let's move on. Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, Tashma, come in here. Vayisume Elim, Vayovo Koladas Bnei Yisrael, to Midbar Sin, Regomer, Bachamisha Asar Yom Lachodesh Hasheni. Okay, fine. So now, on the 15th day of Iyar of that year when they left Egypt, so it says that they arrived at Midbar Sin. And what happens when they arrived at Midbar Sin? They complained. And they said, hey, we have nothing to eat. We need food. So V'osayom Shabbos haya. And that day was Shabbos. The 15th day of Iyar was a Shabbos. Okay? Dichsiv, as the pasuk says, Uvoker u'isem es kvod Hashem. Because basically they got to Midbar Sin, and we're arguing that was a Shabbos, because what happened, Darton, was that they complained. They said, we have no food to eat. So in response to their complaint, God gave them the man. Okay, God gave them the man. And when giving them the man, the pasuk says, Uvoker risem es kvod Hashem, that tomorrow morning, you're going to see the honor of God when He gives you man. And how do we know that tomorrow morning is Sunday morning? Uchsiv sheishes yamim tilkatu. It says, and you will gather the man for 6 days, followed by Shabbos, which means that the first day of the man was going to be on Sunday, which also means that the previous day, when it said that tomorrow you'll get man, must have been a Shabbos, and we know that that was the 15th day of Iyar. Fine. Now, the Gemara wants to make a similar calculation, which is, Umid chamesar be'Iyar Shabbata. Well, if the 15th day of Iyar is Shabbos, then of course the 29th day of Iyar was Shabbos, which means that the first day of Sivan is going to be Sunday, right? So, midchamesa b'yar Shabbata, reish yarcha de Sivan chad b'Shabbos. Then that must mean that Rosh Chodesh Sivan is Sunday. But again, right? Kasha l'Rabanan, Amr lach Rabanan iyar da'i shata avruah. The Rabbanan are going to make the same argument, that year, meaning, sure, the 15th of Iyar that year was a Shabbos. That's great. We don't have a problem with that, the Rabbanan will say. However, there were 30 days in Iyar that year, and therefore Rosh Chodesh Sivan was not on Sunday, it was on Monday. Amalei Rav Chabibi Mechozna'a l'Rav Ashi. So says Rav Chabibi Mechozna'a. Now, the Agos Abach changes it to Rav Asi Mechozna'a. The thing is, how often do you see Rav Chabibi Mechozna'a? It's much more interesting to read it Rav Chabibi Mechozna'a than Rav Asi Mechozna'a. So, we'll do that. It says Rav Chabibi Mechozna'a to Rav Ashi. Tashma, come in here. Vayi b'chodesh harishon, okay, it was on the first month, i.e. Nisan. Bashana Hashenis, on the second year. Okay, so now we're already 1 year in, 1 year after the Yidden left Egypt, and now it's Nisan. First day of Nisan. No, Vayi b'chodesh harishon bashana Hashenis be'echad l'chodesh, on the first day of the month. Hu kama Mishkan. The Mishkan was put up, was was erected. Fine. Tana, and we learn in a Brisa, also ayom natal eser ataris. That day was the first for 10 things, got 10 crowns, was the first for 10 things. Okay? The first of the month of Nisan of the second year got 10 things. So firstly, Rishon L'Maaseh Bereishis, it was the first day of the week. It was a Sunday, right? It was the first day of the creation of the world, i.e. a Sunday. Rishon L'Nisim, it was the first day that in Parshas Naso, it talks about the 12 Nisim, the 12, representatives of each tribe, one representative per tribe, and they brought all these different sacrifices. So day one, what was it? Was that Nachshon ben Amidah Lamata Yehuda? Did he go first? Or was it in the order of their birth? I can't even remember. Anyways, so the first of Nisan of the second year was the day that they began the sacrifices of the Nisim. Rishon L'Chehuna, it was the first day that Aharon and his children did the service in the Mishkan. Up until then, it was done by the firstborns. Rishon La'avoda, it was the first day that they would bring like the Korbanos Tzibor, the Tamid Shel Shachar, Tamid Shel Ben Abayim, things like that. Rishon L'Yiridas HaEsh, it was the first day that the fire came down from heaven, the Eish Tamid, that the fire came down to heaven and was lit on the altar. Rishon L'Achilas Kodshim, it was the first day that they had to eat the Kodshim inside of the curtains of the Mishkan, the meat of the Korbanos. Rishon L'Shchon Shechina, it was the first day that the Shechina dwelled among Israel. Apparently, until that day, the divine presence never dwelled among Israel. So that was the first day of that. Rishon Levarech Es Yisrael was the first time that there was Birkas Kohanim, right? Yivarecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, that. Rishon Le'Isra Abamis, from the day that the Mishkan was erected on the first of Nisan of the second year. So then you were no longer just allowed to make your own private altar wherever you pleased. At that point, if you wanted to bring a korban, you had to bring it to the Mishkan. Rishon L'Chodashim, I think that's what it means. Unless, what does Rashi say? Rashi says, L'Isra Abamos me'achshav ne'esru, so now you can't make bamos. She'uroi le'pesach nesu shu ra'i lepesach ha'moed. That which is fit to come to the Mishkan. So does that mean? Wait. So I'm actually not. I'm actually. I think. Oh gosh, I'd have to look this up. Does anybody know? I think actually maybe when they were traveling in the desert and there was the Mishkan, maybe they were allowed to make like bamos for like nidavas, to just make random sacrifices, but something that you had to bring to the Mishkan, well at that point you couldn't do that on a bama. Maybe that's what it means. I'd have to look that up actually. Meaning if you needed to bring it to the Mishkan, well then you can no longer just do it on your own private one. But you may still have been able to, just like if you wanted to bring a korban because you were feeling like, hallelujah. So you may have still been able to do that. But certainly, if you had to make a korban chatas or something, you wouldn't be able to just do that on your own private altar. Rishon l'chodashim, and it is the first of the months of the year, right? Nisan is the first month of the year. Nu. So the first of the 10 things was that it was Rishon l'Maaseh Bereishis, that it was a Sunday. Okay? Umidreish yarcha de Nisan de Haishata chad b'Shabbos, and from the fact that Rosh Chodesh Nisan of the second year, listen carefully, from the fact that Rosh Chodesh Nisan of the second year was a Sunday, well guess what that means? De ishtakir b'dalid b'Shabbos. That must mean that Rosh Chodesh of the previous year, the year that they left Egypt, was not a Thursday as we thought, because we were assuming that the 15th of the month was a Thursday, which means that 2 weeks earlier, the 1st of the month was a Thursday as well. But we want to say, well, from this brisa, apparently, Rosh Chodesh Nisan of year 2 fell out on a Sunday. Well, if we do our mathematical calculations, it will turn out that Rosh Chodesh Nisan of the previous year was not a Thursday like we thought, rather it was a Wednesday. Titania, as we learn in the Brisa, Acherim Omrim, say Acherim, Ein ben Atzeres la'Atzeres, Ve'ein ben Rosh Hashanah le'Rosh Hashanah, Ela Daled Yomim Bilvad. That basically if you take, let's say, Shavuos of one year, and then Shavuos of the next year, there will be a 4-day difference. Ve'maisa Shana Muberes, hey. And if it was a leap year, then it would be a 5-day difference. Nu, what does this mean? This means that every year, every lunar calendar year, right? The solar calendar, of course, has 365 days. The lunar calendar has 354 days, right? So 7, of course, goes into 350, right? I think 50 times. Yeah, definitely 50 times. With a remainder of 4 days, right? So that means that if you take, Rosh Hashanah of this year, well, that means that Rosh Hashanah of next year is going to be 4 days later than it is this year. So now, using that cheshbon, using that calculation, if we know that Rosh Chodesh Nisan of the second year was a Sunday, well, it's going to be 4 days later than it was the previous year, which means that it must have been on a Wednesday the previous year. Right? Because Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, Sunday is 4 days later, which means that the first year must have been a Wednesday, which also means that the 15th of Nisan the previous year was a Wednesday, which also means that the 29th of that month was a Wednesday, the 30th was a Thursday, Rosh Chodesh Iyar was a Friday, and Iyar, of course, was 29 days, which means that the last day of Iyar was also, the 29th day of Iyar was also a Friday, which means that the first day of Sivan was a Shabbos, which is a question for both Rabbi Yossi as well as the Chachamim, because Rabbi Yossi says Rosh Chodesh Sivan was a Sunday, and the Chachamim say that Rosh Chodesh Sivan was a Monday, yet according to this cheshbon, Rosh Chodesh Sivan was taka a Shabbos. Right, so the Gemara says, right, Havale Reish Yarcha de Iyar Maile Shabbata, which means that Rosh Chodesh Iyar would be on a Friday, V'reish Yarcha de Sivan Shabbata, which means that Rosh Chodesh Sivan would be on a Shabbos, and we say Kasha Bein the Rabbi Yossi Bein the Rabanan, and this is a question both on Rabbi Yossi and the Rabbanan. Check out how they answer this question. The Rabbi Yossi Shiva Chaserin Avud, the Rabbanan Ches Chaserim Avud. Very interesting. Rabbi Yossi says, you know what the answer is? That year, over the course of that year, is a little technical, so listen up, friends. Over the course of that year, between year 1 and year 2, so according to Rabbi Yossi, there were 7 chaser months, meaning in general, we have 1 male, 1 chaser, right? We'll have 1 30-day month, followed by 1 29-day month, followed by 30, by 29, so you'll have 6 months of 30 days and 6 months of 29 days. And if you add that together, I hope that we get to 354. We should. I actually didn't do that, but I did the other calculations. We should. Should we do it quickly? Alright, let's just do it quickly. 30 times 6 is 180, and I guess 29 times 6 is probably 164. So that gets to 354. I think. Oh gosh. 180 and 350 and 154. So 180, 280. Oh god, that doesn't sound right. That sounds like 334? Oh no. Hold on 1 second. 30 times 6 is 180. Okay. And 29 times 6 should probably be 174. Yeah, exactly. 180, 280, 354. Exactly. So, exactly. But now, Rabbi Yossi says that year they actually changed things up a little bit. They made an additional chaser month, which means that year it was actually 353 days, not 354 days. And therefore, since it was only 353 days, that means that there were only 3 extra days between, 1 year to the next. And therefore, if Rosh Chodesh Nisan on the first year was a Sunday, was a Thursday, well, that means that Rosh Chodesh Nisan on the next year would only be 3 days later, which explains why it was a Sunday on the next year. Now, according to Chachamim, they're actually going to say that there were 8 chaser months, which means that that year was 352 days. So there were only 2 extra days, which means that they're going to say that actually the day that they actually left Egypt on a Friday, the first day of Nisan, as well as the 15th day of Nisan of the first year was a Friday, which explains why the next year was a Sunday, okay? And that also explains their calculation of why the Yidden got to Midbar Sinai on a Monday, because if the 15th of Nisan was a Friday, then that also means that the 29th of Nisan was a Friday, okay? It also means that the 30th was a Shabbos. It means that the first of Iyar was a Sunday. It means that the last day of Iyar was also a Sunday, which means that the first day of Sivan was a Monday, like they say. Y'all caught that, right? Of course you did. Great. Friends, let us review Daf Pezain. Paz. Pezain, Paz, which is gold. Very nice. Gold. And we talk about the golden calf, I guess. Alright. So the daf started off with 3 things that Moshe improvised on his own, from his own instinct. And number 1 was that he added 1 day of Prisha. Number 2 was that he separated from his wife. And number 3 was that he broke the luchot, and in all 3 of those things, Hashem acquiesced. We talked briefly about Shabbos at Mara, which was, that they got Shabbos at Mara before they got it at Har Sinai. And there's a makhloket between Rava and Rav Acha Bar Yaakov. Rava says that Shabbos Amar did not include the halachos of Tchum Shabbos, whereas Rav Acha Bar Yaakov says that it did include the halachos of Tchum Shabbos. The nafkamina is if they left from Refidim on Shabbos or did they leave from Refidim on Sunday. And then we tried proving the makhloket between Rabbi Yossi and the Rabanan mathematically by if we know what day of the week they left Egypt, we can figure out what day of the week they got to Midbar Sinai. But it didn't, we tried to prove it to favor Rabbi Yossi, but the Rabbanan just kept on saying, we don't agree with Rabbi Yossi. And then one of the interesting things there that we got at the end was, towards the end was the Rosh Chodesh Sivan of the Nisan of the second year was when the Mishkan was erected, and there were 10 crowns that we saw on that day. So anyways, friends, thank you very much. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Peace.